to Brannick's Reviews. Today I'm doing another mailbag question. Now this is a very simple one. I'm not even going to bother putting it up on screen because the question is very straightforward, and it's something that a lot of people have been asking as well, and that is, when do we think that the cinemas are going to go back to normal or just even reopen at all? It's a good question, really. I mean, who's to say? We don't really know exactly how things are going to work out. Things tend to change from week to week, and at the moment things seem to be getting better, but not to a point where we can start relaxing things in the near future to the point where people are going to the cinema together. So all I'm really going to base this on is some of the answers that people at work in the industry have been discussing, and also what the industry itself has been sort of suggesting will be the case. So there's a few kind of points on this. I would recommend a guy called John Campier, if you're not already familiar with him, on this subject anyway, because he seems to be fairly clued in with the industry, and also he's very much up to date with release dates and so on, and the kind of conversations that studios and movie makers are having. Case in point, I've been following his channel, and he's been talking about the Christopher Nolan movie Tennant, which, if you're familiar with Christopher Nolan, he did films like the Dark Knight trilogy, Dunkirk, Interstellar, Inception, all those kind of things. And he's got this movie coming out allegedly in July called Tennant, and the trailer for that has been out for quite some time, and it looks really good. Some people seem to think that it's going to be some kind of prequel or tie-in to 2010's Inception movie, which would be a good idea. As always, Christopher Nolan's movies are always full of mystery, and it's kind of ironic, really, because there's a big mystery with regards to the release of the film, because it's not been cancelled yet. It's out in July. There's some indication that cinemas are hoping to open from mid to late July, at least in America. So it is a bit of a mystery, given that all these other movies have moved, such as the Ghostbusters movie that was coming out in July. I was really looking forward to that as well. That's now moved till 2021, which really kind of sucks. But Tenet, as far as I'm aware, as of yesterday, still is they are, Warner Brothers and Christopher Nolan are both saying that they're going to stick to that July release date. Now, what's interesting about it is, it's not just whether the cinemas are open in July to show it. They need to have a marketing campaign for any movie, and if you've got any doubts that you might not be able to show your movie when it's scheduled to be released, all that money that you're spending on marketing is just absolutely wasted, pretty much 100% wasted, because you have to delay the movie. In a lot of cases, it's not just by a few months or 6 months. In some cases, it's like 10, 11 months that films have been delayed by. So if you're promoting a movie that's coming out in the near future, such as we saw with No Time to Die, where they spent millions and millions on advertising, I mean, just the Super Bowl spots, TV spots alone, were they like 30-second adverts, and they paid millions for those for nothing, because the film's not out now till November. And obviously the marketing budget is a huge part of a film's budget just in general, so they might as well have spent that money on the actual film at that point. So, with going back to what I was saying about the Christopher Nolan film, if they've got any doubts that this movie's not going to be able to come out in July, now is the time. I mean, even before now, to start pulling the plug on that. Because if cinemas are shut, for example, they can't show movie trailers in the cinema. So that's going to be a missed opportunity. I mean, yeah, they can advertise things on the internet and on TV, I suppose, but having things out in public, when buses go past and they advertise movies, is not going to be so much of that, or people aren't going to be able to see it. So the exposure for any advertising campaign is going to be jeopardised pretty much fundamentally up till the release of any film that's coming out in July. There is a flip side to this, by the way, a good point that John Campier made on this specific movie. But before I get to that, it's not just the marketing that's kind of jeopardised a little bit up to the release. Cinemas may be open in July, but they might not be open to full capacity. I very much doubt they would be open to full capacity, even by the end of the year, to be honest. They might have like zones where there's got to be a space between people. They might have rules in place where people have to wear masks. Who knows? As things kind of progress. But obviously, if that is the case, where they can't have cinemas be used to full capacity, so all their seats can't be taken, they're going to have loads of empty seats. That's obviously going to hurt box office revenue, because not as many people, not as many bums on seats, not as much money going into the box office effectively. But like I say, there is a possible positive for Tenet, because that is a big blockbuster film that probably would have made a hell of a lot of money anyway. And if they're the last film to pull out of July, or one of the last films to pull out of the July release schedule, we're sort of saying, oh, they're not going to make as much money because they can't get as many people in the cinemas, if they are even open at all, assuming they are. The positive to this is, if cinemas do start to open, albeit at a reduced capacity, there's not going to be as much competition. That's going to be one of the few films showing. It's going to be, as John Campion said, it's going to be the only game in town. So that could kind of really play to its favour. So it could really go either way for that. I mean, you can speculate all you like, nobody knows, but I think that Warner Brothers and Christopher Nolan are quite aware of that, and I suspect they're hoping that they're hoping to play the odds and it pay out, or pay off. So we'll see about that anyway. The other thing I was going to say about this as well, obviously movies are being delayed, so there's going to be an issue down the line with a lot of films that are backed up coming out. Most of the ones, well, I think all of the ones that have been delayed have kind of given this is the new release date, but whether they actually stick to that, who knows. We do have some films due to come out at the end of the year, some of which were already coming out at the end of the year anyway, but some of them were the ones that were supposed to come out already, like No Time to Die, the James Bond film. That moved to November. We do still have films like Halloween, Halloween Kills, is it? Yeah, Halloween Kills, which is the sequel to the 2018 Halloween movie. That's still due to come out around Halloween time, and I'm really looking forward to that. I highly rated the last one. In context of expectations, I'm not saying it was an amazing film, but compared to all other Halloween movies, apart from the original, it was epic. In that contrast, so that's coming out anyway, and that's still due to come out. There's a King Kong versus Godzilla movie, I believe that's still supposed to be coming out at the end of the year as well. So and that hasn't moved yet, because there's been some speculation that going off the principle that there's not going to be as much capacity available in cinemas, so the movies are going to lose revenue because of that. Because of that problem, a lot more movies, even by the end of the year, are still going to sort of postpone and cancel. But to me, it seems like a lot has changed within a short space of time. I mean, even if you just go back 2 months, so say by the end of February, as I'm recording this, it's the end of April, so go back 2 months. Things were very different back then in terms of what we thought we were going to be dealing with this whole issue that's going on right now. So in 2 months' time, a lot can have changed by then, and that will only take us up till late June. Cinemas the industry, from what I understand, has been talking about reopening in America sort of mid to late July. Some talking about opening even earlier than that, but I think it's a big risk, is that. I mean, who knows? They might trial it and see what happens. But doing like a proper nationwide reopening by the end of July. So we'll wait and see anyway. It's very difficult for me to say. I mean, I'm not tied into the industry at all. I've just been kind of monitoring things for my own expectations. The movies that I wanted to go see, but I've absolutely made my peace with it. There wasn't much on my radar anyway, even without all this. I was saying in a previous video, I hadn't been to the cinema anyway since late December. I went to see 21 Bridges. Nothing really else massively appealed to me. in terms of going to see films. So I personally can live with this. You would have thought, with all the movies that I watch and review on this channel especially, you would have thought that this would have hit me hard. It really hasn't. There's more to life than movies and TV shows and entertainment. A lot of people are talking about this whole situation like comparing us to the generation that put up with World War II. It's like there's a difference between storming the beaches at Normandy and just being asked to like sit at home and watch Netflix. I realise a lot of people are losing jobs and so on, but that's not really the thing that a lot of people that are complaining are putting up with. A lot of them still have jobs and they're still complaining. So we'll see in terms of the actual movies and so on, how entitled people feel they are to these movies when the cinema's open, because I bet there'll be a lot of complaints about people not being able to get to see the movies they wanted to see for whatever, or they're not going to be happy with the arrangements, like having to wear a mask or whatever. Because there's been a lot of stupidity during all this. So I think once things start to reopen, like cinemas for example, I think it's still going to be a massive stress in terms of just going outside, not because of this virus situation, the virus itself, but just people's behaviour and so on. So I think with regards to opening cinemas, I think they have to be very careful because a lot of people are acting irresponsible. That's the kind of reason why I'm kind of going off on one towards the end of this about people's behaviour, because I think it is a factor, and I think that the cinema industry is going to have a bit of stuff to deal with when it comes to that. So I'll pretty much leave it there, and I could ramble on. I feel like I've kind of answered the question in terms of my understanding of things. Like I say, things are changing a lot. I didn't really want to do a video talking about this, to be honest, because it's not going to age well, and I think it's a bit negative as well. But, you sent this question in, it's a fair question, so fair play. Right, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Brandix Reviews, you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, obviously, and Instagram. But for now, I'll leave it there and say thank you very much for watching.
Well, ask FB. Does FB know why? Hey, what the hell? Does FB know why it were the police from the high street, eh? You know what the hell's job there, eh? Whoa. He's everybody. What the hell? Whoa. What's going on there, eh?